Allah is the one, the one, the one, the one.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. I would like to welcome all of you who are seated here and those who are watching us through online. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The subject, as it was advised, was the dangers of overeating and the method or a way of diet that was actually promoted or advocated or approved by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the first question that actually comes to mind to a lot of people is, why can't I just eat how much I want? Or why can't I just eat what I want? Why should there be a certain level of restriction or a level of discipline in what you dine? The reason I chose the subject is most of my subject when I choose, I like to look at how people are organizing themselves. And I like to diagnose the issues that is actually facing the Muslim community as a whole. So every time I prepare the subject, even the subject that I have chosen today to be presented in front of all of you, is not to attack someone in person or to belittle anybody or to degrade anybody in way or form. But this is a generic subject, but I just think overall the Muslim communities globally, because I've traveled around and I've seen here and abroad, Muslims have no idea about the discipline of actually eating. So they go overboard. That's why, at least from where I come from, majority of the people who are visiting the clinics for various diseases, before even some of them reach 40, are Muslim women. It's Muslim women. And then you have Muslim men. And the most surprising thing about this, the issue of consuming more than what your body requires, I have seen even amongst those brothers and sisters who have reverted to Islam, who have chosen Islam as their way of life. Prior to becoming a Muslim, they were very health conscious. They were very fit, they were fitness freaks. They're very cautious about how they appeared. They're very cautious about what they consumed. This is before they became a Muslim. But as soon as they enter the fold of Islam, after a few years you get to see them, you can't just recognize them anymore. And you're wondering, what is wrong with them now? Because as soon as you declare the faith in Allah, the one creator, and his messenger, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are supposed to be more health conscious than you were before. Simple. But how things have gone the other way around. So I had this puzzling question for many, many years. I said, why? Why is this happening, and why is this Muslim community as a whole don't seem to really stop for a while and realize what they are consuming? So why is it that important for a Muslim, male or female, young or old, to really discipline themselves in what they consume? The reason being is very simple. what you consume will have an effect on how you appear. So ultimately, what you eat, you have to wear what you eat. Basically, when you say this, you have to wear what you eat, it means to say whatever you consume, your body is going to structure itself in that form, and you have to carry the loads of weight that you have gained for yourself because you had no discipline in consuming. Now, food for all of us is something that is tempting, right? When a delicious dish is served or placed in front of us, it is natural for all of us to be tempted to eat, to consume more than what your body may require. But like every other temptation, Islam acknowledges that Allah has created humanity, mankind, with all these tastes for life. All the things that we have in life is what spices up life. Because we're, number one, we are not angels to have no desires, and yet highest level of piety. No creation that is lower to us that has no discipline in anything they do. So we are being. Islam acknowledges what is in front of us, but what Islam promotes or advocates tells you, you have a discipline you got to follow, and don't cross the road. Don't cross your boundaries. That's all Islam does. Of overeating, the danger of overeating, that is something as you age you will realize that your body is actually weakening because we have been consuming so much that has really affected us in a long run. So Islam being a complete way of life, Islam is a deen, right? Deen means what? A way of life. It's not a religion. Religion is something that teaches you some rituals, forbids you from doing certain things, and allows you to do a certain thing. But Islam, we all believe, is a deen, which means a complete code of life, where a believer, a human being, Islam teaches him from his birth, from his cradle to his death, how he should conduct himself in all affairs. Whether there is a relationship between us and the Creator, or it's a relationship between human to human. Right? So in that limelight, I went back to the prophetic way of consuming food and disciplining what goes into the body. And I was surprised to find that actually Islam has not left any rocks or stones unturned. Rasulullah ﷺ has advised and have told us everything we need to know about our journey through this life. And Ibn Qayyim, he tells us from this ayah of the Quran, he says this ayah of the Quran actually sums up the entire well-being of children of Adam. He says, Ya bani Adam, khudhu zinatukum inda kulli masjidin wa kullu washrabu wa la tushrifu. Meaning to say, O children of Adam, attain your embellishment at every time of prayer. And then he says, washrabu wa la tushrifu. Eat and drink, and be not extravagant. Eat and drink of what is halal, what is clean, what is pure, what is tayyib, as what as Allah has provided for you, but do not go into extravagance. And the ayah continues, وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا وَلَا تُشْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. For Allah does not like the one who is extravagant. So Ibn Qayyim, in his understanding of this ayah, he puts it very clearly. This ayah actually describes how the children of Adam should conduct themselves The first part of the ayah talks about the attire you wear. We're not going to go into that. But the second part of the ayah talks about consuming food and drink. So this is what Allah has to say. O children of Adam, wear your beautiful apparel at every time and pray, a place of prayer, eat and drink. But waste not by excess, for Allah loveth not the wasters. This is the first thing. Now the second reason, the other reason that I have chosen this subject is, I remember when I was trying to learn this religion, trying to learn Islam, my teacher told me how to understand whether this is important, this is very crucial, and this is dire. It's through two means. He said, number one, any act that is associated with Jahannam, with hellfire, be cautious. Any act or any deed that is associated with Jahannam, with hellfire, take precautions, because we don't want to fall into something that's going to ultimately drag us there. This is one. Second, he told me anything that is concerning the Day of Judgment, that your act or your way of doing things, Rasulullah has already foretold towards the end of time, this is how people are, then as Muslims we should try and avoid going towards that path. So, there is a prophecy of Rasulullah. What we are going to see right now is in itself is a proof that this man Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a man of Allah. He's a divine. He came from Allah to teach humanity the information they need to gather for salvation to the hereafter. Now Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily the first trial to occur in my nation, in my ummah, after the passing of its prophet, that's after the passing of Rasulullah, will be that was people eating to their fill. For when people fill their stomachs, their bodies are fattened, their hearts are hardened, and their desires are uncontrollable. So one of the first signs, there are many signs Rasulullah said, right? One of the signs he said that you are clothed, the Day of Judgment is, the first sign of the Day of Judgment is death. The moment Rasulullah died, the sign of the Day of Judgment already began. Rasulullah, verily the first trial, the first fitna, turbulence the ummah will face is that we will fill our stomach to its fill. That means we will fill it up here. Also, in today's world, we go even beyond that. Because in today's world, food is being choreographed to tempt you. You may not be hungry, but as soon as you pass by a restaurant, the way the photography is done, you just want to walk in and just eat. You see, the food is being choreographed. So they are selling food, and we consume more food even while we are not hungry for it. So Rasulullah told us that there will come a time, the first fitna of my ummah is they will fill to their stomach. They will fill completely. So this is the reason I chose the subject, because it was associated with the signs of the Day of Judgment. So as Muslims, we should lead an example to the people that this is how you dine. This is how you discipline yourself in front of. Now, companions, the first trial, the experience was being tested by prosperity. As an abundance of wealth and quality food filled the marketplaces, people began to eat to their fill on a regular basis, and thus the sunnah of moderate eating was forgotten by many. So this we are talking about in the time of the companions themselves, not our time. We know from history how Islam expanded. As soon as Islam expanded out of Medina and Mecca, from that region, wealth started to accumulate in the capitals. So when wealth came into the Muslim, everything that was taught by the Prophet ﷺ regarding filling your stomach. So they started to purchase. So the Sahabas, the companions of the Prophet, who actually spend their life with the Prophet started to see the change in the Muslim community, that whatever the Prophet said is coming to pass now. People are going to extremes in consuming the food. Eating too much food causes weight gain and associated health problems. Obviously, but it causes spiritual harm as well. Too much food hardens the heart, dulls the mind, increases drowsiness, and makes it even more difficult to control one's lust and desires. This is a fact, right? You don't need to become a nutrition scientist to understand this. This is a fact. When you consume more, you have uncontrollable desire where you can't control. Rasulullah, when you look at young men who couldn't afford marriage in Medina, what was the advice he gave them? He said fast. For those who can afford to marry, marry, but those who can't, fast. Because fasting is a cooling of your passion. Because when your stomach becomes empty, automatically your desires will obviously decline. Your desires may decline as you age, but for young people, when your blood is hot and you're boiling, you're going wild, Rasulullah said, of course, this is not a permanent solution. Fasting is not a permanent solution. Ultimately, marriage is, but temporarily, this is what we are told to uphold in order to relieve ourselves from anything that may force us or compel us to fall into transgressing our limits. And moderation. The sunnah regarding day-to-day eating is to only eat what is necessary to maintain optimal health and energy. So we are supposed to eat only what is required. We don't need to go beyond that. In one of the ancient signs back in my hometown, they teach us that do not eat food unless you are truly hungry. Because they tell us hunger is the language of the stomach. When you feel hungry, that's when your stomach is telling you, consume food, I'm ready to digest it. So hunger is actually the language of your stomach communicating to us that you need to eat now to regain your strength. Now this is a hadith which I'm going to show you, which we are all aware of. Bulk of us know the hadith. But what we don't know about the hadith is that the second part is always quoted by all of us, but the first part is always missing. Here Rasulullah said, you have to divide your stomach into three. When you eat food and drink, he said, portion of it for food, portion of it for water, and portion of it leave it empty. Here it says for air or breath or whatever. And all of us in general have understood this is minimum. This is minimum. Right? This is minimum because most of us don't go to the sentence of the hadith. Before Rasulullah, this is the whole hadith. It says the son of Adam cannot fill a vessel, a container, worse than his stomach. As it is enough for him to take a few bites to strengthen his back. If he cannot do it, then he may fill it with third of his food, a third of his drink, and a third of it with emptiness. Remember, for Rasulullah, this is a beautiful hadith. People who have lived this by just eating a little bit here and there are actually more energetic. They can focus more on the ibadat. They can get more things done. They require less sleep, and they will definitely get up at tahajjud. You follow? So our spiritual well-being is directly connected to your dietary system. That's how Allah fashioned it. You see, so why can't I eat anything and everything? Well, Allah didn't design us in a way that we can eat everything and anything. Unfortunately. Is not how we are designed. We are designed in a certain way, and the best example is the examples of the prophets, because they are directly under the guidance of Allah, the Creator Himself. Right? So you just need a little morsel of food to keep your back straight so you can do your day-to-day activities. Now, this is a general rule of eating in moderation, but there are exceptions for special occasions. See, this is Islam. When I say Islam is a way of life, it's not just a talk. Because I've seen people talk about their religion being the way of life, this religion being the way of life, but they don't give solutions to problems. So when you can't give solutions to problems, then it is not a way of life anymore. It's just what people use beautiful words to describe their faith. But Islam is a way of life because it identifies the problem and it gives you solution to the problems. Do you follow? And Islam also guides us to achieve that. There's a way you can achieve all this. So there's a route paved for us to achieve this. So there is an exception. The exception is where Rasulullah himself says, well, Anas ibn Malik Radhi'Allah Annha reports that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never combined a dish of his with meat and bread for lunch, nor for dinner, unless he was eating with people. If you are on a special occasion like wedding, marriages, things of that sort, then there is a flexibility where you may eat more than what you regularly eat. Because this is the way Islam wants to build relationship with people. So you're in a dining place with 50, 100 people where they're all enjoying. You can't simply say, look, no, I have to just eat little. So special occasions, Islam allows. There is a provision for us to flex our muscles a bit and then go little more, because Rasulullah himself has done it, because there are hadith where Rasulullah has eaten meat and then he asked the Sahabas to give him more. But this was not his regular practice. Regular practice of Rasulullah was half the time he preferred to be what? Hungry. And there's a reason. We'll discuss that as we go. And prophetic method. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never ate to his fill of bread or meat unless he was eating with people. There's another hadith. So Muslims are to maintain a moderate diet consisting of healthy food habits. Eating too much food or eating unhealthy food can be very dangerous to one's spirituality and bodily health. It's very important. Unhealthy habits will spoil even your spiritual well-being, right? Because there are people who eat so much they can't even do sujood. They struggle to do sujood. They struggle to do ruku. They can't even stand for a very long time in salah. That's why your tarawih are very fast. The only reason why imams are forced to read tarawih very fast because we consume so much, we just want to lie in our bed. We don't want to come to the masjid. And even if you come to the masjid, we want to dictate to the imam, you got to go, the speed of a certain speed. Otherwise, we disqualify him. So this is wrong. Why all this is happening? We forgot one sunnah. Simple. Every sunnah that is forgotten, the ummah will pay for it, some way or the other. Okay, so this is how it's affecting our ibadat. Okay, very dangerous. The thread is also very silent. The thread of overeating is very silent, because almost all types of food are permissible in Islam, except what is specified. But extravagance and excess in permissible eating can become sinful. Sometimes when you consume too much, it can also fall into the category of sinning, because you are being extravagant. Right? A human being don't need to eat meat every day. You just eat meat once a week is fine. You can still survive. Your body can be healthy. Unless you are working. Of course, this is a very general rule in Islam. You can't apply this to everybody. People who are working on a desk may not have to consume so much, but people who are working in places like open field, in a farm, in a construction site, somewhere the physical movements are required, and they may have to consume little more than a person who's just sitting in an office and doing some desk job. So that may vary. So you are the best judge of what is fill for you. Right? I can't say that, you have to just have handful of this and handful of that. I can't say that. Right? We just have to understand, make sure after you eat, you can still stand in your salah and do your ruku and sujood without any difficulty. If you can do that, then that is enough for you. Now, it was the practice of the Prophet ﷺ to eat humbly in what he ate, how he sat as he ate, and in his general attitude towards food. Now, this one requires some explanation, because as Rasulullah ﷺ was, towards his end of his time, Jibril alayhi salam came to him and asked him, O Rasulullah, Allah wants to give you the kingdom of this world, yet without diminishing your reward. So Allah wants to make you what? A king of this whole world. That's one choice. The second choice is, or you can be a humble slave of Allah. Rasulullah ﷺ chose what? To be a humble servant of Allah. That's what he chose. The choice was given to him. Allah wants to make you a king, and you can do all the good deeds and be rewarded as a prophet without a single diminish in your ajr, or you can be a humble servant of Allah. So Aisha Radhi'Allah Annha tells us, after that encounter with Jibril alayhi salam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even the way he sat changed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to lean back and used to eat. But after he said, I prefer to be a slave of Allah, even the way he sat and ate his food was different. He used to lean forward to eat his food. Humbleness. So Aisha Radhi'Allah Anha tells us very clearly, after this encounter with Jibril alayhi salam, even the manner the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting to eat changed. Do you follow? So this hadith is actually talking about that. So it's talking about that I eat as a servant eats. You know how a servant eats. My grandfather used to tell me, in the morning you eat like a king. In the afternoon you eat like a prince. At night you eat like a beggar. That means you eat very little at night. Don't consume so much, because you don't need all that food in the night, because you're going to go to sleep. So here Rasulullah says, I eat as a servant eats, and I sit as a servant sits. Verily, I'm only a servant of Allah. I'm Abdullah. I'm just Abdullah. You follow? This is how Rasulullah taught us to have food in a way that you humble yourself to it. As the leader of Medina, the Prophet ﷺ had all the resources of a Muslim community at his disposal. Am I correct? As soon as he moved to Medina, slowly, of course, earlier it was a struggle. It was such a struggle, the Sahabas used to come and tell Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, we can't even answer the call of nature. And Rasulullah asked, why? Because there's nothing to eat. Only if you eat, you have to secrete. But there is nothing to eat. What is there to secrete? So the Sahabas used to come and say, we're having this issue that we can't, our stools are hardened. This was the situation of Medina in the early stages, as soon as Rasulullah migrated from Makkah. But as time went by, Medina started to become a rich city. So although all the wealth of the Muslims were at the disposal of the Prophet ﷺ, yet even still he could give away whatever food he had in charity. He could just give away the excess he had and feed himself and his family with so little. This is a proof that this man is not lying. He is truly a man of God. Because if he was not what he claimed to be, then he would have enjoyed all the riches. But he never did that. So these are statements from the companion saying that this is how he lived until he died. And until he died, Rasulullah, his stomach was flat. His chest was always out. Do you follow? He never had a big tummy because he never ate to his fill. Aisha Radhi'Allah Anha said Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam never ate to their fill of wheat bread for 3 consecutive nights, ever since they had come to Medina until he passed away. So Aisha Radhi'Allah Anha, his wife, is telling us that he never had wheat bread continuously for 3 nights. That means he gets it one day, maybe 2 days he gets nothing. And you know, the wheat bread we are talking about is not as super fine as today we eat. It's very hard too, because they have to crush it with their hand, mold it, do certain thing. You know, it's just something that's very, very hard. It's not that easy. And sometimes that could also be difficult to digest. Even that bread, Rasulullah ﷺ didn't get it for consecutively 3 days. That was the life he chose to live. He had it. Allah could have given it to him, but he chose no. And there is a hadith where Rasulullah ﷺ was asked that Allah want to give you the wealth, you know, equal to Taif, Mount Taif. But Rasulullah ﷺ chose, no, Jibreel. He told Jibreel ﷺ, I prefer to be hungry one day, fed one day, so I'll become a grateful servant. So clearly the hadith tells us excessively eating will make us what? Ungrateful slaves of Allah. You see? Otherwise Rasulullah would have chosen that. But he said, no. Ya Allah, feed me one day, keep me hungry for the other. Do you follow? So I'll become a grateful servant of you. Rasulullah ﷺ, you know the Sunnah Fasting we talk about, we prepare it, right? If you want to fast on Mondays and Thursdays, you prepare. But you know how Rasulullah ﷺ used to? He used to go for Fajr in the masjid. He would come home. Of course, he's hungry. He wants to have something to eat. He would ask Aisha, Radhi'Allah Annha, is there anything in the house to eat? She would say, Ya Rasul, there's nothing. He would say, I will fast. That was our Rasulullah. Show me a leader in the world, whether spiritual or non-spiritual, who have left behind a legacy like this. Only a prophet can do that. An imposter, a liar, a fraud can never do that. Only a true prophet of God can really tie rocks to his stomach and say, just to ignore the pain of hunger. All right? And then Umar Radhi'Allah Anhu has said that I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spend the entire day suffering from hunger. He would not find even the worst dates with which to fill his stomach. Forget getting the best dates. Even the worst dates he couldn't find. So he would prefer to go hungry. Now why in Ramadan the spirituality, our level of spirituality goes up? Because we eat less. Or at least we keep hungry. Right? When I was learning from one of my shuyukh, one of my teachers, you know what he used to have for shuhur? You'll be surprised. You know what we have for shuhur? It's a mini meal, man. And for iftar, forget it. Usually, when I remember when I was young, I read in an article that Muslims gain more weight during Ramadan. And I felt a little offended because the author who wrote it was a non-Muslim, but that is a fact. When I grew a little older, I realized that is a fact. We are supposed to lose weight during Ramadan. It makes sense, right? Because you're hungry the whole day. But overall, the Muslim community seemed to gain 2 to 3 kilos extra. So we have not really gained anything from this Ramadan. In Ramadan, of course, one thing, the shaitan is put in chains, so your spiritual level goes up, you have the energy to do things. But apart from that, the reason why we are active, actually one of my manager, when I used to work during Ramadan, I never used to take lunch break because I used to continuously work. What, take lunch break for what? And he used to say, man, your fasting is very productive. Because you guys are productive during Ramadan because you give the 1 hour to the office. Yeah, it's very true. Right? So Rasulullah ﷺ here never used to get even the worst of the fill his hunger, and he would go hungry. And Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to Ibn Abbas Radhi'Allah Anhu, with empty stomach, and his family would not find anything for dinner. Most of their bread was made from barley. Even if somebody can make the same bread the Rasulullah actually used to eat, I doubt we will even eat it. We will simply say, what is this? Is this a feed for livestock that you want to give it to me? Because everything today is refined, right? We want everything soft, we want everything shiny, right? So we are living in a world where food is actually artificially designed to provoke your hunger. And this is how. Now the question comes to a lot of the Muslims, so should we also employ the same method? No. That's a choice that Rasulullah made for himself. If we can do that, then fine. But make sure that you don't faint. You know where you stand. You don't go into extremes, because Islam opposes any thought that is extreme to both ends. Islam is a religion of moderation. In everything you do, you are in the middle. Whether you worship Allah, you are in the middle. Whether you sleep, you are in the middle. Whether you eat, you are in the middle. You don't go here, you don't go there. Right? You don't go to either of the extremes. Now there is another hadith. I want to really, let you know this is metaphoric. Metaphor, this is a figure of speech that Rasulullah used, and it is an isolated case. It's not a generic rule that Rasulullah said to all of us. So bear this in mind. So I'll narrate the hadith. Everybody also has come across this hadith before. It was not the habit of Prophet ﷺ to completely fill his stomach with food or drink during meal. Sometimes he would abstain willingly as an act of ritual fasting or half fasting. Right? He would avoid it. Here, habitual eating too much food on a day-to-day basis is a manifestation of one's inability to control their desires and their attachment to the worldly pleasure. This is true. This is true. If some people think this is an extreme view, then you will find out very soon when your doctor tells you, you have to live on blood pressure pills, diabetic pills, and then slowly this disease will increase. It's not going to decrease any sooner. Then you will realize, oh yeah, so this is not extreme, but this is actually the moderation. Ibn Umar Radhi'Allah Annha said, Rasulullah said, the unbeliever eats with 7 intestines, 7 stomach, and the believer eats with one stomach. Now this is a hadith, we should not take it out of its context. Do you follow? Like I said, this hadith was actually about a person who was captured by the Sahabas. He was one of the leaders of the tribes in nearby Medina, a very big tribe. He was captured by Prophet ﷺ. He was put in the masjid, because all the prisoners are put in the masjid, in the mosque, where he is fed regularly, is given very good food, despite the Muslim as a whole has no good food. Prophet ﷺ says, serve him well, because he's a leader of a tribe. Serve him well. So he was served. And he used to sit and watch how the Muslims used to conduct their prayers. And then the Sahabas who used to feed him used to tell Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, this man just eats. And he eats, and he eats, and he eats. Whatever you give him, he just consumes it. Right? Sahabas, they were amazed. How is it possible a human can eat so much? And then as time passed, this man who was captured by Rasulullah eventually becomes a companion of Rasulullah by declaring Islam. He embraces Islam right in the masjid. I forgot his name, but he's one of a famous Sahabi. He did help a lot if you'd go through the seerah. So when he became a Muslim, he was let go free. So now the Sahabas are serving him with a huge amount of food, but he had very little to eat. So Sahabas were surprised. He said, how is it? Then they went to Rasulullah ﷺ. They said, Ya Rasulullah, this man, before he embraced Islam, he ate so much, but after he declared his faith in the oneness of the Creator and you as a prophet, he ate so little. That's when Rasulullah ﷺ narrated the hadith. He said, for the unbeliever, eats with 7 intestines, 7 stomach, which is a figure of speech. Nobody has 7 stomach. That means you eat more than what you're required to eat. While a believer, the one who believes in the Creator, who believes in the Day of Judgment, who believes in life and the grave, has only 1 stomach. That means he eats little. Now, there is another magic to it. I've actually seen this. I don't know whether you have seen this. I have actually seen this. People who actually don't believe in Allah and His Rasul, they can consume so much. Right? One of the reasons why one of the secrets of consuming less, I give this advice even to my non-Muslim friends. You know what is the secret? Say Bismillah before you eat. Because Rasulullah said, if you don't say Bismillah, who eats from your plate? Shaitan eats from your plate. It's not you eating it, but it is Shaitan who's eating from your plate. And some of my non-Muslim friends said, it worked. They told them, just say Bismillah and eat, that's it. That's because when I used to invite them over to eat in my house, I would eat so little, but they would consume. And they asked me, how come you eat so little? I said, because the formula is say Bismillah, very simple. They said they did it and they say it worked. Allahu Alam. Right? So a person who denies the hereafter usually has no compelling philosophical reason to restrict his or her food intake. Right? There is no philosophical reason. There could be scientific reasons, there could be health reasons why a person who don't believe in Allah, controls his diet. But there is no religious reason for him to control. And therefore, they tend to eat 7 times as much food as their body needs. Even many Muslims overeat in this manner today. Am I correct? I have seen Muslims who do that. That's what made me prepare the subject. When I see this, I've been seeing this for 2 decades now. 2 decades I've been seeing this. People have no control over what they eat. Even the loser's attire is so tight for them. All right? Now, the other thing is people are overweight also for a lot of medical reasons. So as Muslims, we are not supposed to belittle them, mock at them, laugh at them, give them names, please. There are people who gain weight not because of food, it's because of certain genetic, or is it because of hereditary, or because they have certain complications in their body. Even they eat so little, their body will keep on accumulating the fat. Right? So that you need to differentiate. And for those brothers and sisters who are habitually excessively eating, give them good advice, give them nasiha, to control what they eat, tell them to go to the gym, work out, develop some sports so they can keep their body weight under control. Now hereafter, even what you eat has an effect on your hereafter. This is where the serious stuff comes. See, this is the first one was the Prophet of Rasulullah. The first fitna of my ummah will be what? Extravagantly filling your stomach, excessively filling your stomach. And now there's a hadith where Rasulullah said every action has its fruit, and for people who regularly and extravagantly overeat will be punished with hunger in the hereafter. Right? As reported in unnecessary saturation leads to all kinds of sin. So excessively consuming without any satisfaction, without any limits, leads you ultimately to sin. Rasulullah said, verily the people who ate to their fill the most in this world will be hungriest on the day of resurrection. So this is serious stuff. Like I told you, right? Anything that is associated with hellfire, anything associated with day of judgment, anything that's associated with the signs of the day of judgment is something as Muslims we should take every precaution. Right? That's what Rasulullah is foretelling us. So anyone who excessively ate, extravagantly will be the hungriest people on the day of judgment. So this is something to be taken very, very serious. Now, when the belly is full, Abu Ja'far said, Radhi'Allah Annha said, when the belly is full, the body will transgress. Natural. Right? When the belly is full, your body, that means your desires and your lust will be uncontrollable. Your body will transgress. On the contrary, the true believer, a person who is trying to practice his faith to the best of his capacity, he recognizes the health and the spiritual benefits of moderate eating, because overeating results in sin, transgression, and waste of resources. Right? One of the hallmarks of overeating is the development of a large belly or visceral fat, which can be increasingly dangerous to a person's health. Now, what is that fat? That is a fat that is built surrounding your stomach, and it also covers most of your vital organs. So that is very dangerous, because as it goes, that's what builds up to giving you cardiac arrest, heart attack. All these things are nothing but accumulated fat in the body. Lumps, people have lumps. A lot of people have lumps is because, again, it's accumulated fat. And Rasul Jadda Radhi'Allah Annha reported the Prophet ﷺ saw a man with a large belly. The Prophet ﷺ pointed to his belly and said, if this had been placed elsewhere, it would have been better for you. So if all that fat was somewhere else, not in your belly, it would have been better for you. So Rasulullah did not criticize him or belittle him, but he gave him an advice, basically telling him, control what you eat. The habit of overeating is not a blessing, and it's actually a punishment. In Islamic understanding, overweight is not a blessing at all. It's actually a punishment from Allah. Well, like I said, right, one of the nutrition scientists in America, she said, you will wear ultimately what you eat. Beautiful words. You will wear ultimately what you eat. So whatever you eat is going to show up. So you're going to wear it with you wherever you go, right? So Al-Hasan reported that Umar ibn al-Khattab Radhi'Allah Anhu saw a man with a large belly, and he said to him, what is this? The man said, it is a blessing from Allah. So he said, the big belly is a blessing from Allah. Umar Radhi'Allah Anhu said, no, rather it is punishment. La, he said, la. He said la, and then he said, this is a punishment from Allah. Okay, so gaining weight, excessive weight in Islam is not seen as a blessing, nor in the medical field. The visceral fat buried deep inside a large belly is severely damaging to a person's health, and it subsequently detracts from the ability to exert themselves in acts of worship like the night prayer or community services. In this sense, it is a punishment for overeating, right? If you can't do sujood and ruku properly, look, ruku you do. For me personally, if I feel I gained weight, simple, when my tailbone will start to pain, when my back start to hurt me, I know I've gained weight. And when I can't do my ruku for a long time, when I feel little uneasy doing ruku or sujood, I know, man, I have gained weight. I have to hit to the gym. I have to really start controlling what I eat. This is how I keep track of my health, right? It's only through this. So what is this visceral fat? Is a fat that is stored within the abdominal cavity and is therefore stored around the number of important internal organs such as liver, pancreas, and intestines. Right? This is where it all accumulates. It's all here. We just put this, Google it, and you see where it actually accumulates. In conclusion, the righteous believer existing in each generation can be recognized by their healthy physical and spiritual habits. They eat moderately, which results in a lean and a healthy appearance. They guard their tongue and commit themselves to silent contemplation. They utilize the night time for prayer and study, and they are in regular habit of secluding themselves for private worship. This is something I keep insisting to a lot of the brothers and sisters. Look, praying 5 times a day is fine, but seclude yourself and be in dhikr of Allah. Somewhere alone. Every day you can do it, once a week, once a month, at least once a year, whether you go into the nature or you sit at home. My teacher, he taught me how to do dhikr and adhkar of Allah in nature. So he would teach me, like he would say, hold the leaf and praise Allah for the leaf. Hold the tree and praise Allah for the tree. You see? So this is the way you have to seclude yourself for people to reflect upon the creations of Allah and reflect upon the, the blessings that Allah has bestowed upon all of us. And one of the scholars, may Allah have mercy with him, said all good is combined in these 4 trails, 4 signs. And by them the righteous replacement becomes a replacement. Number 1, he says, having slender belly, flat belly, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah never had a belly. He never had a belly. We know from the hadith of Rasulullah sallam in his deathbed, Sahabas have narrated that he never had a belly. It was flat. Silence, sleeplessness. You sleep less because you spend more time worshipping Allah, making dua to Allah, and withdrawing from people. One of the diseases of the heart, if you study, you will see one of the diseases of the heart is mixing too much with people. Because when you start mixing too much with people, what happens? You talk excessively. And when you talk excessively, what happens? You make mistakes. You slander people. You may, gossip about people. So the advice given by all the companions of the Prophet, Umar Radhi'Allah Annha said the same thing. Mingle less with people. Right? That is a dignified way for a believer. Here we have a scholar saying the same thing. So people who have actually lived that life will understand. That's why world-renowned scholars, they speak very little. But even when they speak that very little words, it has very deep meaning. Right? They speak little, but it has a very profound effect on your heart. They don't mingle too much. You don't see them in social medias. You don't see them talking big. They're very quiet. There are so many scholars out there, we don't even know them. They're not in social media at all. They like to keep to themselves. Right? Okay? Now, the key to their success is their moderate eating, which optimizes their health, regulates their sleep cycle, sharpens their minds, and maximizes their potentials. In summary, Muslims should adapt a habit of eating moderately by filling their stomachs with no more than a third of food at each meal, except on special occasions, as we discussed. The food that they eat should be nutritious, balanced, and wholesome. These prophetic eating practices will help facilitate both bodily health and spiritual growth. Right? So, like I said, my brothers and the sisters who are watching us, if you need to really go to the next level in your spirituality, you have to start with this. Without disciplining what is in your plate, you cannot reach the higher level. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And I'm sure if Rasulullah sallallahu or Umar Radhi'Allah Annha was here with us today, and if they walk into a masjid, and if they see people with such big fattened belly or huge body, other than medical reasons, which like I said, except for whatever medical reason they may have, if they see that, I'm sure they'll be very disappointed. Right? Now, is it easy to really control what you eat? Yes. Initially, it's very difficult. I agree, because, remember, your body can be trained in any way. Right? A human being can be a military person with strict discipline, waking up before Fajr, working out in the morning before sun rises is working out. Right? It's a human being too. A person can be so lazy, he eats all day and sleeps all day. It's a human being too. So your body can be tuned, can be manipulated the way it wants to be. So it's in our hands to do what is right for it. For me personally, when I meet Allah, I don't want to meet Allah in a way that I have dishonored myself, physically or spiritually. So I keep telling a lot of young Muslim men and women that, look, going to Jannah shouldn't be your first goal. That's my personal view. I don't want to push this to people. For me, going to Jannah is the second stage. The first stage is when I meet Allah, I don't want to meet Him in a graceful manner. That's my first worries. That's my biggest concern. So when I stand before Allah, I want to be dignified. Then, inshallah, comes Jannah. Because going to Jannah in Islam is actually, there are many ways. Going to paradise in Islam is not difficult at all. It's very simple. Right? But what I don't want to encounter is when I stand before my Creator, my Rabb, Rabbul Izzah, Arshal Majid, Fa'alul Lima, with my creator of everything that exists, who created me from nothing, and he gave me life, he gave me emotions, he gave me family, he gave me friends and folks, and a beautiful eyes to see, and beautiful ears to hear the Quran, and beautiful, art of speaking so I can speak good. When I meet him, I don't want to be humiliated. You know where I got this idea from? I got this from the Sahabas. Wallahi, I got this from the Sahabas. I didn't develop this on my own. If you look at the companions of the Prophet, many of their sayings is about this. Abu Bakr Siddiq Radhi'Allah Annha said what? I will not rest or rest assured even if one of my foot is in Jannah and my foot is out. I won't be assured that I'm a people of Jannah. Even if one of my foot is inside Jannah and one is out, yet to be stepping in. Even that much they understood the religion. The way the Sahabas understood this faith of Allah, the deen of Allah, is amazing. They did not have a superficial understanding like us. We have a very superficial understanding. Certain things we do, many things we ignore. We take things very light. Inshallah, I'll read Surah Yasin, I'll go to Hajj, inshallah, Allah will forgive me. No. Ibn Abbas Radhi'Allahu Anhu said, to belittle a sin is a sin in itself. You follow? Beautiful words. To belittle any sin, major, minor, whatever it may be, to belittle a sin in itself is a sin. Follow? So we cannot just take it easy and say, no, it's okay, I'll go for Hajj and Umrah. Wallahi, we don't know, we'll wake up tomorrow morning. We don't know. So a Muslim lives in this world as if he has tomorrow. He behaves in that fashion, but he worships Allah as if there is no tomorrow. All right? I'm just like any other fellow human being. I can fall short. It reminds me that, even I have to be health conscious. When I do my sujood and ruku, that, I can really prolong them. Because one of the things I learned from my teacher, one of the sweetness of salah that my teacher taught me was prolonged sujood and ruku. Wallahi, I never realized how beautiful that is until my teacher actually demonstrated to us the whole of Ramadan. After that, I have so much love for ruku and sujood. The first time I did ruku for maybe 5 minutes. First, so difficult. When I do sujood for 5 minutes, I was feeling so much pain here as if I did some weightlifting. When you do weightlifting, you feel that pain, right? But after that, ruku and sujood for 15 minutes continuously, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you feel nothing. It's normal. But the tranquility you get, the calmness it gives you, you can leave your worries aside. You can say, Ya Allah, I have given you my worries. I know you will deal with it. So let me go back to ibadat. And this is one of the revelations of the Quran, right? When Rasulullah was being abused, when he was being tormented, taunted with words and actions, when they were saying names to him, it hurted him deep inside. What did the Quran say? Muzammil, Allah tells Rasulullah, O Prophet, we know they are abusing you, accusing you, saying things behind you. Matter of fact, the wall of Rasulullah, the house of Rasulullah, and then Abu Jahl was one compound. So whatever abuse you, it hurts the Prophet. He's offended. But what Allah tells him, O Prophet, increase your worship as they abuse you. Increase, that's it. Your solution is not to go back and fight with them, reason with them. Don't worry about them. Allah will take care of them. As much as they're abusing you, giving you names, calling you names, ill-treating you, increase your night prayer. That's it. Keep on increasing it. So those brothers who are going through this stage in life, please increase your what? Your night salah. Because practically when you do it, when you really stand before Allah with the small light, put on a small light because you feel so close to Allah, you can actually feel, number one, you're well protected. You can feel there's an invisible fortress protecting you from something, anything that can attack you. And then there is a level of calmness in you. You won't overreact. Right? So this is one of the advice given by who? By Jibril alayhi salam to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said one of the, he gave 4 advice. One of that was for a believer to stand up at night and worship Allah. Right? So inshallah with this I will end. May Allah accept from us, and may Allah make us people of health conscious. May Allah make us of those who eat less but do more. Right? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We have the dua here. You can make the dua before you depart from the assembly here. All right. Right. If there's anything if you want to ask, maybe how to control your diet, or how to, because there are a lot of diet programs out there, and none of them work. None of the diet programs will work, because none of that is really very close to reality. I've tried everything. But I give you a simple advice how to really control your weight. Okay, that's in your question and answer. Yes, my brother. Assalamu wa rahmatullah.
We know we are recommended as Muslims to practice certain Sunnah Fasting, like every Monday, every Thursday.
Yep.
And each of the 13 to 15
the white moon, yeah.
Would you like to enlighten us a little bit about why 13 to 15 in an Islamic month were chosen?
Okay, the Sunnah fasting of Mondays and Thursdays, as Prophet ﷺ said, Mondays and Thursdays is when our deeds are taken to Allah by the angels. So Rasul ﷺ said the best state you can ever be in this time is to be in the state of fasting. Because Rasul ﷺ told us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that fasting is for me, so I will reward it. Because you cannot fast to show people. Because you are a fasting person, nobody will even notice it. How many times I offered food to Muslim brother, they would say, brother, I'm fasting today. When they say that, as a Muslim, I feel ashamed. I say, oh. Why? Because I should have been in the same boat, man. How come you're journeying before me? So the Mondays and Thursdays is because your deeds are taken to Allah, and you have to be in the best of deeds. Now, the 3 in a month is, of course, that's what Rasulullah ﷺ advocated, that's what he told us, but scientifically they have found out these are the times when the moon has a certain change which is actually healthy for a person who actually fasted these 3 days. I don't know the detail, but it was a BBC report, if I'm correct. It's there, it's available. I remember some shiukh also shared with me, the findings of scientific reasons why you should fast on the 13th, 14th, and the 15th of each month, or at least one time in that. At least once that month you should fast. So one thing, there is a prophetic tradition. He said it, we do it, right? We don't look for these reasons why there is scientific or non-scientific, but it's a form of ibadah for us. We do it. But scientifically, they say, I think blood cells or something that secretes in the body, secretion of blood, more good cells in the body. So during fast, it helps because of the moon cycle. The moon plays an important role in our life, you know that. You know how it plays an important role. I tell you how. If you study agriculture, any fruit that is touched by moonlight will be far more sweeter. You know that. Any fruit or veg that was actually touched, the light from the moon touches it, will be far more sweeter. You see? So moon has an effect not only on humans but also on other creations of Allah. Now this is one. Now, how does a fasting really helps? In general, generally speaking, when I was doing a diet program with my teacher a long time ago in the early millennium, when I was learning to control my food, they taught me one thing. They said the reason why you should divide your food habits, like for example, if you're eating 3 times a day, eat 6 times now. 6 times, not more food, the same quantity of food, but you split it. Do you follow? The reason why you split the food like that is they tell us, the the nutrition people who study nutrition science, they tell us that because when you take little by little, your body will start to digest it and utilize what is being used, convert that into energy. And the body has an ability, Allah has put an ability in all of us, as soon as the body cannot find sufficient food in the body to generate into energy, you know what it finds? It will take from your fat. Do you follow? Do you follow? When your body has enough food in the body, it will start to burn that, convert that into energy. Once your body runs out of the food, it will start to take from your fat. That's why the diet programs are usually something they tell you, divided into 6 times instead of 3 times, so on and so forth. So scientifically, also it is said that when a person fasts, potential cancer cells will die off. We all have cancer cells in the body. All human beings have. As long as it's in a controllable level, you're safe. Once it increases by reproducing, that's when you become a cancer patient. And scientifically, they have found out that fasting actually reduces the risk of a person developing cancer. Do you follow? And during Ramadan, because you're fasting for 29 to 30 days, whatever precedes, you are giving your entire organs a complete rest. Because maybe over the year you have consumed a lot of sugar, a lot of processed food, processed meat, fattening fast food. Now this whole month is a break for your body so it can restructure itself, regain its strength and its health. Remember, human body, not only human body, every creation on this earth that can walk, crawl, fly, swim, can heal itself. The earth can heal itself. Your body can heal itself if you give it time. So if you damage something in your body, give it time, it will heal itself. Just like a tail of a lizard, right? You chop it off, it grows back again. So scientists are today researching to find out what is that makes the lizard get its tail back. If that can be re-engineered into human, maybe we can start growing back our fingers that is cut off, our arms that may be cut off, they can grow it back. So they're studying this science. This is a study that's going on. So if they succeed in finding out how this works in the lizard tail, inshallah, one day you don't need to worry about losing a limb or a feet, right? Limb, your hand, your arm, your fingers, even your ears, they can re-engineer it back. And tissues in your body can also grow. That's why when a person has degree of burn, they have found out in recent studies, they can take part of the skin from other part of your body and attach it over it, it will start to grow. Beautiful, huh? Yeah, even hair, right? Hair plantation. So a lot of the things can repair itself if you give it time. So fasting likewise helps you in many ways. Number one, spiritually it helps you because what? It brings you closer to your Creator. It helps you in other ways that it makes you lower your gaze, right? You don't look at the opposite sex, you keep on staring at them because now you're more concerned with your stomach, it's hungry, you're thirsty, so you have no time to gaze. So you look down. So it helps you spiritually, and then it also helps you what? Materialistically, from the secular point of view, it also gives you better health. I know people, non-Muslim friends, you know what they do for diet? They fast. Don't believe? They fast. Ask them why you're fasting. And they fast like Muslims. And there's so many different types of fasting in the world. The Hindus fast, the Christians fast, the Jews also fast. Every culture, in every tradition, fasting has always been a part of their system. But the way Muslims fast is completely different from all the other. And some of my non-Muslims, especially females, you know why they fast? because they're trying to reduce their weight. And they say it works wonders. Okay, so this is a reason, brother. There are many reasons, but spiritually, we have to really resurrect all these sunnahs to at least draw closer to Prophet, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even Sheikh Sheikh Uthaymeen, the teacher of my teacher, he was fasting even while he had cancer. Sheikh Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on him, passed away with what? With cancer. And he would fast Mondays and Thursdays, and he used to fast all the optional ones, even while he was diagnosed with cancer. And then he would also walk to the masjid. Masjid is very far from his residence. He would walk to the masjid. He won't take his car. He had a car, but he won't drive. He will walk to the masjid because he wants to earn the reward of walking to the masjid. These are the signs of scholars, right? People, they really live Islam. And wallahi, I'm so blessed to know some of these people. I have to really live with them, ate with them, learn so much from them. There's so much to learn. That's why today, the reason why we don't really understand Islam in a complete sense is because we have not learned Islam academically, right? You read few books, sat for a few lectures, really doesn't change you at all. You really, really need to sit with a teacher, right? Like Imam Ashraff said, I spend 3 years learning manners from Imam Malik, and then I spend 15 years learning his fiqh. And he said later on in his life, I wish I learned 15 years from him, from Imam Malik rahimullah, his manners, and 3 years for fiqh. Because to learn something like fiqh is not really complicated, but manners, if you want to really upgrade your manners, inshallah that will be one of my subjects that I'm going to talk about, manners and the forgotten manners that the Muslim Ummah as a whole is suffering from. You need a teacher. You cannot learn merely from books. You really need to know how your teacher reacts to anxiety, to depression, to unhappiness. Whatever happens in his life, he's very determined to only go back to Allah. These are things you can only develop when you see him. Do you follow? I'll tell you one of the manners. When one of the scholars from abroad was here for a peak, I was taking shoots and I was taking photos. And I was taking him in a certain angle where there were female audience at the back. Of course, as a photographer, you don't look at all that, right? Your subject is what matters to you. Who's at the background, really, they blur it out. So while I was shooting, the sheikh stopped me. He said, Sheikh, brother, come here. And you want to take shoots, you take from here. I was thinking, oh, maybe the sheikh knows photography. Right? Then I went up to him and asked him, Sheikh, why? Because this angle is better. He said, no, brother, there are females behind me. You follow? So a teacher, so he's well learned from his teacher. So he's telling me, no, there are females behind me, and when you take these pictures, of course, you're going to circulate it, and people are going to see non-mahram women. That's not right. See, the presence of mind, this is what you will never learn from your books. That's why to learn the Quran or manners or anything, you really, really, really need to sit with a teacher and do your studies, and inshallah, your Islam will be very, very rich, inshallah. Yes, brother, anything else? Yes, my brother.
So, how do you destroy the love for biryani? No. So, if obviously in Islam we're told not to waste, but we're also told not to overeat. So, what if you have food given to you and you're eating it, and it's on your plate, and you're full? What do you do with it?
Okay, what I do is I will keep it in the refrigerator for next day use if I can use it. Right? Sometimes it do get spoiled, right? You can use it for one day, the second day,
exactly.
So in that case, you have no choice but to throw it away. There's no sin on you for that. You understand? The sin is when you deliberately do it, when you can use the food. Of course, where I come from, India or Pakistan or these places, we don't throw food. There's someone we can feed it to. There's someone, maybe the neighbors are there, maybe I know poor family, we'll just go pack it up nicely and give it to them. They will enjoy the food. Or least what we can do, we can feed our cattle or our goats. Some way the food is going to be consumed. Or worst to worst, I will just dig a hole around my plant and bury it there so it becomes a form of fertilizer for the plant. There's so many ways we can use it, but in a city like this, where everybody has more than enough, it's difficult. So what I will do, if I'm offered so much of food, immediately I will see it and I know this is too much, I will try to send it to my neighbors. Like for whether they're Muslims or non-Muslims, I don't care, as long as somebody benefits from it. Like the konji for Ramadan, you know, sometimes I'm given 3-4 packs. I take it home. I just need one to drink if I feel hungry. Other 3 or 2 I have, or 1 I may have extra. I give it to my neighbors. They may not be Muslims, but I just give it to them as a good gesture, so they can develop a good relationship with me. So and then the honoring of neighbor, right? You share with your neighbors. So this is what I do. So there's so many ways you can avoid wasting it, but there are times there's no choice, but you have to throw the food. That's why when my children leave food on the plate, I tell them, I'm not going to clean that plate because I don't want to be sinning it. You go throw it yourself. I tell them that. You go throw it yourself. Because for that food, as a breadwinner in the family, I know how hard I have to work to bring that food to the table. And if you don't, and your mom has to cook, really stand there, cook for you, and if you don't appreciate that, and I'm not going to carry the sin of throwing that beautiful food into the bin while somebody else I know somewhere in this globe is going hungry, right? I know there are people, not in Hong Kong, but abroad, who will come to the masjid, they really look rich, but really they are not eaten for a few days. If you go into their houses, you will know there is nothing there, and they will not even open their mouth about it. They keep waiting. And these are the people the Quran is saying, they are what? Miskeen. They are the needy people. They are the people who deserve our attention. Not someone who's standing in the masjid or road, masjid entrance and begging you for money. No, 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 no. These are not miskeen. Miskeen are people, when you see them, they look all fine. But in reality, they're not all fine. They're struggling. They are struggling. All right? So as Muslims, we need to look out for these people in the community. Who are they? Where are they? And we need to go like Sahabas. You know what they used to do? They would put the food on the door and knock at the door and run away. That's the Sahabas. They used to look for these people. Why? They want to earn the ajr. They want to earn the pleasure of Allah. That, you fed a hungry person. Because on the Day of Judgment, Allah will say what? I came to you hungry. Why didn't you feed me? Right? Allah will say that to us. And we will say, Ya Allah, how? You are Rabb. How can you go hungry? And then Allah will say, if you would have treated that hungry person, I would have considered as if you fed me. Am I correct? So as Muslim communities, we need to really reach out to these people. There are many people who are single parent. There are many people who are children whose parents are no longer with them. There are cases we see, there are cases we don't see. And we really need to employ people, pay them full time to do the job. We can't rely on volunteers, right, all the time. Come on, this ummah has become so cheap. To read Quran, you want free teacher, right? To teach your children's maths, English, and science, you want to pay the highest amount of money because they teach the best. For Kalamullah, you want free teachers? I don't believe in free service from anybody. I don't believe in free lunch. I don't believe in that. That's why my children's, I put them online, though I pay them. Right? I put them online and wallahi they're picking up very well, they're reading Quran very well. For me, I will not compromise on education that is related to dunya or akhirah. For me, they're all the same. So you have to look for these type of teachers, because if everybody wants free teachers like we do it in the masjid, then what kind of quality are you going to get? Don't expect quality and standard if somebody has to come and teach you for free. Am I correct? You will not find a teacher out there who can teach your children's Cantonese or Putonghua or science or maths for free. And if it is free, you know how it is, right? No accountability. No, I want to have accountability. End of the day, I want to ask the teacher, how is my children's doing? And I want to examine them myself to see they're doing good. So the problem with this ummah is we have become so greedy that we want everything free. Right? We are ready to pay 2,000, 3,000 to go learn about business management while we cannot pay for an Islamic conference. Few $100, we can't pay. We make a big issue of it. Oh, why can you charge me? This is fi sabilillah. Fi sabilillah alone won't feed you. Yes, the ajr is there. Inshallah, Allah is the one who feeds, but you have to be very practical. The person who's going to teach you is also a human being who has commitments, who's got family to feed, right? He has to be fed. And Rasulullah was very particular about all these things. That's why when the young companions came to the masjid to learn the Quran, after some time he would send them, he would tell them, go back to your families. You can't be here forever. Go back, go back. He would tell them to go. Do you follow? The people of Sufa, the people who used to learn. Right? So Rasulullah was so conscious about his surrounding, his people. That's why once he asked Rasul, the other companions, where is the old lady who used to come and sweep the masjid? He noticed even a lady who is coming to clean the masjid, and he asked, where is this lady? And the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, she didn't come today because she's not feeling well. And he went and visited her. Do you follow? This is the sunnah, the legacy the Prophet has left behind. For all of us to learn to see where the problems are in the community, people who are suffering and struggling. We can't just turn a blind eye and say, as long as I'm provided, today Allah's providing, maybe tomorrow Allah will withdraw from you too. Okay, right? So, inshallah, may Allah protect us from all these things now, because I'm so afraid one day you'll wake up to Allah and then Allah will ask you a question. You'll be like, hey, I didn't know about it. That means you are so detached from the community you're living in. Yes, brother. Yeah. Yes, brother.
Actually, I want to add on to avoiding eating, excessive eating,
Okay.
to tahajjud or qiyam al-layl.
Okay.
Actually, Imam Qudama rahimahullah mentioned one of the first things one should do when it comes to one of the practical steps one should do for waking up for tahajjud or qiyam al-layl is to eat less.
Yes.
And here comes my question actually, because you know the lifestyle in Hong Kong, where generally speaking we finish work late, we reach home late, and so we eat late. And so I notice actually there's a significant difference when you eat less or when you eat early, even if it's more, compared to eating less when it's late, like how should it? Like it's better to eat early, of course.
Okay.
Definitely when it comes to waking up, or when it comes to your spirituality. But then most of us don't have the choice or luxury to eat. So in that case, should we sleep hungry?
Okay.
Or should we eat? How do we manage the level of?
Okay. This is actually it's a very good question, because we need to find solutions to these problems. Now, idealistically speaking, the perfect time to eat your dinner would be right after Maghrib. Right after Maghrib. Because after Isha, the sunnah is you end your day. Because Rasulullah never engaged himself in anything after Isha. Right? He would just go to bed because he has to wake up for tahajjud. Now, in Hong Kong or any developed city or a dynamic city like Hong Kong, where everybody is working very late and they come home late, so there's a chain reaction, right? You eat late, you sleep late, or you eat and you immediately sleep. So what's the solution to the problem? Okay, I had these problems for many years myself, and I have come out with a solution to this. Now, if you are forced to eat very late, maybe at 9 or 10 p.m. because of your work, I would suggest you should at least eat your food 2 hours before bedtime. So if you come home by 9, have your food at least 2 hours before. If that is also very difficult, because if you're consuming but you're very tired, you have to go to sleep, my suggestion to you, like I said, eat dinner like a beggar. Which means you can have 1 sliced banana or 2, or a glass of milk, because glass of milk is very important. This is a tradition. I think we have long forgotten this. When I was young, my aunties would I recall they would not allow me to sleep or anyone in the house unless they give you a glass of milk. You know why? Tell me why. Why milk? No mass, no sir. I tell you why. The reason when you drink milk, it calms your nervous system down. It brings your level of stress down. You understand? It calms your brain, because you cannot sleep unless your brain is calmed. That's why sometimes you go to bed for hours and hours, you can't sleep, because you have overworked. A lot of thoughts have gone into your brains. Now your brain waves are still active while your body's tired. So when you have the milk will what? Bring tranquility to you. It calms the entire nervous system in the body, where you come to a calm stand, and when you sleep like a baby. Try it out. Wallahi, try it out. Any day you come back from work very stressed out, have a cup of good milk, huh? Not so-called milk that looks like a milk, right? A proper milk you drink, even a half a glass, wallahi, you will sleep. So for those who cannot really consume food 2 hours before, I would suggest you go with some fruits and some salads. Good enough. Salads will have the least calories for you, right? You can put olives there, put lemonades, and have it. Have a milk, a banana, which is more than enough, right? Don't have chapatis and don't have rice. Is something you need to avoid, unless you're eating like the Chinese. Yeah, I like the Chinese style of eating because they only eat 1 bowl of rice, which is enough for your body, but they eat a lot of veggies and fish, right? Actually, this is very healthy diet. The Indians are the opposite. The South Indians, not the North Indians, the South Indians, where I come from, we eat that much rice and we have that little to eat with veggies now. We hardly touch veggies, unless you're a vegetarian. Veg and fruit are very, very important for your diet. Fruits are important for you to answer the call of nature in the morning, because they have fiber. Don't force your stool out. If you force your stool out, you're going to develop what? Piles. You're going to develop that. So you have to sit in the toilet and you should go smooth. Right? This is my way of diagnosing the problem. Is I eat less, eat nutritive food like salad. Cut few salads, easy to make. Mix it with some flavoring, and then eat it. You're done. Right? Banana is the best. Of course, science tells us you should eat banana in the midday because it has 90 minutes of energy. A banana can give you 90 minutes of energy. That's why people who play long tennis, they eat banana, right? Sportsmen usually eat banana. Milk is good, right? Or the other thing I can teach you that I learned from my teachers who taught me to keep fit in the gym, they said every time you feel hungry, you feel tempted to eat food, have a carrot. Carrot can completely destroy your hunger. Completely. 1 carrot is enough to fill your stomach. You know that? One carrot, just break it or eat 1 carrot like a rabbit, like Bugs Bunny. You won't feel hungry at all. That's it, done. And then fill your stomach with water and leave part of it for empty. This is my advice. Of course, people who are more expert can give you better advice. This is what I do. If I don't eat early, if I have to eat late, I prefer to just stick to milk and fruits, and I'm done. It's difficult because in the middle of the night you're feeling very hungry, right? So I just go to the kitchen, take out the carrot and eat my carrot. I'm done. Okay, this is what I can advise you. Yes, brother.
What's the best time during Ramadan to follow Sunnah?
Okay, the best eating habits you have to develop for Ramadan. Actually, I have a full subject on this that I delivered in a school in Chennai a few years ago on diet during Ramadan. When you prepare your shuhur, make sure you don't consume so much where you can't stand up for Fajr. It becomes very difficult. First, okay? Remember one thing, right? Let me give you a very simple advice on diet. All the diet program that is promoted by great thinkers and nutrition scientists will never work for you. Will never work for anybody. Whether it's a protein diet, whether it's a mineral diet. There's so many diets, caveman diet. There's so many diets. Before you do any dieting programs, please consult your doctor who's from your background. Don't Google it. Please, I have a friend who passed away from these diets. Remember, if you're a Chinese, you're used to certain food habits. So if you Google it, you may get a certain diet program that is designed for Americans who eat heavy meat, right? The heavy meat eaters, especially beef. If you're an Indian, depending on which part of India you come from, you can be a person who is consuming wheat products, or you can be someone who's consuming rice products, right? So before you follow any diet program, I would suggest you sit with a doctor, nutrition doctor, who comes from your background. If you're a Chinese, look for a Chinese doctor. If you're an Indian, look for an Indian doctor. If you're a Japanese, look for a Japanese, Don't Google it. Because Google will only cause you more harm. Because what you see in Google are very generic stuff, specially designed for certain culture and certain people. Now, this is one. If you're really serious about your diet, you go and sit with your doctor. Otherwise, as a brotherly advice I can give you, now let me finish with Ramadan. The Ramadan is first, when you eat shuhur, try to have very little rice, because I know South Indians are rice consuming people. The northern people are more like, they eat chapati. If you have, just make sure it's just one bowl of rice. Take it in a bowl, put it there. Enough. And some veggies there, preferably salads, and some meat if you require meat or fish is enough. As soon as you eat, you know that, okay, now I have the strength to do my salah. That is my benchmark, right? This is where I put my yardstick. My yardstick is my ruku and sujood. And I don't want to feel Allahu Akbar, I'm dozing off. No. If I doze off, that means I know I've taken too much of rice. Carbos. Too much carbos put you to sleep. In iftar, I would advise have 3 dates or 2 dates or 5 days, whatever, and have water. Do your maghrib first. Okay, like what they follow in the one-child masjid, right? Finish your maghrib and then you sit and have your food little by little. I know it's very tempting, and try to avoid fried item, a deep fried item. If you have to, just take 1 piece, maximum 2 pieces, don't go beyond that. Because too much of fried items, because the oil that we consume today is actually not good. It is actually crude oil, right? It's not really genuine olive oil or vegetable oil. If it is really that kind of oil, then no harm, because your liver requires oil to function. Your liver needs what? Oil to function. You can't reduce that also. You understand? And there is another problem also in the diet. The local people here usually avoid fat, right? In the noodles, the Chinese noodles, usually fat is taken out. That's why most of the Hong Kong people have constipation problem. They can't answer the call of nature properly. They struggle. I've been to toilets during my work days, and I can hear people push themselves out. They try to push, they can't. You know why? Because you remove fat. But you have less heart issues. The Chinese culture, you have less heart issues. The Indians, on the other hand, consume fat, so they have no constipation problem. They're regular in their toileting, but they also have health condition in their heart. So you need to balance all these things out, because these are things I've studied around to see the different diet of the locals compared to the foreigners who live here. And then when you open iftar, always take a lot of water. When you fill with so much water, the food will be less. Eat little, break your food habit. Don't have so much, little, go for your Aisha. After your Taraweeh, you come and eat your food and go to sleep. If you can do that, it's little difficult in the first time, but as you go, inshallah, you will discipline yourself, all right? So this is for Ramadan. But in general, my advice to all of you brothers is that do not eat food unless you really feel hungry. Okay? This is an advice that you will find in the ancient medical teaching of Siddha medicine in India. Siddha or Ayurvedic, you will find this. Do not eat if you don't feel hungry. It's not compulsory that you have to wake up for breakfast and eat your breakfast. No. It is not compulsory that you have to have your lunch at 1 o'clock. It is not compulsory for you to have your tea break. There's no such hard, fast rules when it comes to consuming food. You have to consume food if you feel hungry, that's all. If you feel hungry, have your food. If you don't feel hungry, there's no harm in you skipping your breakfast or lunch or your dinner. Because hunger is the language of your stomach. When you feel hungry, your stomach is telling you, I'm ready to digest, please feed me. Okay? To eat when you're not feeling hungry is poisonous. To deny food while you feel hungry is also poisonous. So you have to balance it out. This is first. Second thing, your tongue is your doctor. Remember, your tongue is your first doctor, not the doctor. Your first doctor is your tongue. Sometimes your tongue will ask you for spice. Give it to it. Sometime your tongue will ask you for something sweet. You crave for sweet. Give it to it. Right? Because when your body loses that part of the nutrient in the entire body, that's what your tongue is asking for. Sometimes it asks you for soury stuff. Sometimes you want to eat pickles. You know? Why? Because your body needs it. So you have to give it. Your tongue is your first doctor, and the food you consume is your medicine. Remember these simple principles for your life. Eat when you're hungry, and do not eat excessively. Don't eat if you don't feel hungry. Okay? And the other thing is, how do you know? And then digest your food very well. Now, when you put the food in your mouth, chew it very well. Don't talk while your food is in the mouth. Take it in before you talk. Don't put food in the mouth and yum, 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 you're talking, because you're taking in more air now. It's going to cause you bloating. Bloatings come for people because they're not chewing the food well. The food has to mix with your saliva, and it has to be grinded well, and then it goes in. Right? So you help the digestive system digest well. Now, how do you know your food has been well digested? Very simple. When you go in the morning to the toilet, steady your stool. If your stool is floating, that means your food has digested well. Your body has taken out all the nutrients from the food. But if your stool is sinking into the sink, that means you have not chewed your food well, you have not digested the food well. So the nutrients that are supposed to be given to your body is now put into waste. Do you follow? These are simple principles in life. You follow, this diet program will work. This good food, healthy food, regular exercise, proper sleep is must. Hijama, at least once a year, hijama is something that will keep you healthy. Blood donation. I don't know why Muslims in Hong Kong don't seem to understand blood donations. Blood donation regularly, every 3 months or every 6 months or at least once a year you should donate. By donating once, you are saving 3 lives. Do you follow? When you save 3 lives, the Quran says, then what? What does the Quran say? If you save 1 life, it's equal to saving of whole of humanity. So one time you give blood, you save 3 lives. 3 multiplied by 3 worlds. So how much ajr are you getting? Not 1, not 2, so much. So why are we sitting down and doing nothing when Hong Kong requires so much of blood? You never know how your blood donation is saving whose life. And you never know that one act could be so pleasing to Allah. Allah has already written you of the people of Jannah already, and you're not aware of it. So we should have these habits to live healthy. Donate blood, perform your hijama, sleep well, eat well, exercise well. These are the 5 principles that I live my life on. I'm giving you my practical. I'm not reading this from books. This is how I actually lived my life. All right. So I hope this helps. Okay, then we just do the dua and then we close, inshallah.